Hey everyone, it's Ashanti. Welcome back to my channel, Ashanti Reads, and in this video, I'm going to be reading Genesis chapter 3. I do give commentary, I do give commentary to provide my thoughts, and in the comment section, feel free to type your thoughts as well. Also, there will be background noise. I'm not in the house by myself, so I do have another family member, one of my sisters, who's with me, and I do have guinea pigs, and lots of outside noise happens. I do also want to state that I do say words such as Yahuwah, Yahusha, and I have said Elohim. However, I'm still learning about more about the Hebrew words like Alua and Ruach HaKodesh. So, still learning with those words. And also, as I read the Bible, there are many things that I'm still learning. And I'm also reading to hold myself accountable, study to show myself approved, and to also hold you all that watch this video and other previous videos, whether they're mine and or other videos. We got to hold ourselves accountable. And I'm a little stuffy. So please, I hope many of you bear with me on this. All right, I'm going to begin. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahuwah had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath Yahuwah said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Yahuwah hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. So scrolling back up, we see that the serpent, who is also known as Satan, very subtle, and also he was telling the woman, that basically she can, or before that, he was asking her, did our Heavenly Father say, should you not eat this tree, the fruit of the knowledge of good, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? And basically she was telling him, we could eat of the other fruits, but we can't eat the fruit from this tree. And keep in mind, I want you to, that this tree is in the middle of the garden, also with the tree of life. So there is a tree of life, and there is also this tree. And she basically said that he said, Don't eat of it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. For Yahuwah doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, lowercase g, knowing good and evil. So the serpent is trying to deceive Eve, and he's basically saying, well, Yahuwah, also known as God, he knows that when you eat of it, you'll be like him. You will too know good and evil. And so let's see what else happens. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. So basically, it says here that she saw the tree, that it was good for food. Keep in mind, or I would like you to keep in mind, that the tree of the knowledge of good and evil did have fruit on it. So she saw it good for food. She could take the fruit and eat it, and it was pleasant to the eyes. So the fruit, how I take it, looked pleasant. It looked good to eat, and a tree to be desired to make one wise. So the thing is that not only did the fruit look good, but the fruit, Eve saw it as Eve saw this as a tree to make one wise. So when the serpent told her that she will know good and evil, like the Father, our Heavenly Father, she too wanted to know that. It wasn't just the taste of it and that it looked good. It was that she wanted to know good and evil like him. So she took of it and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. So this means that her husband, also known as Adam, he chose to eat this fruit. He chose to eat it. He wasn't forced. It doesn't say he was forced. It says that she gave it to him and also he ate it. And the eyes of them both were open. And reading this passage, when it says the eyes of both of them were opened, I didn't think as deeply about this passage. However, now that I realize it, their eyes were open to both good and evil. I had to pause it for a moment. Stuffy nose. But as I was saying, their eyes were open to both good and evil. And they knew they were naked. So at first, they were naked and they didn't know they were naked. And when they found out, they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. Then it says, and they heard the voice of Yahuwah walking in the garden in the cool of the day. So they heard his voice, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahuwah amongst the trees of the garden. So basically, they hid in the trees from him. And Yahuwah called unto Adam and said unto him. So keep in mind, he called unto Adam and said unto him, where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. So he was afraid because he heard his voice in the garden, and because he was naked. And the thing is, he wasn't supposed to know he was naked, and he hid himself. And he said, who told thee that thou wast naked? Which is what the Father said. Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat? And the man said, the woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. So, in my eyes, this seems like he was blaming Eve. That's what it seems like or appears to be. But however, I do know that he was stating that she gave the fruit to him and that he ate it. And keep in mind, or I would like for you to keep in mind, that he didn't have to eat it. He did not have to eat the fruit at all. He chose to eat it. And the Father's basically saying to him, because we know that he was the one that was actually shown, being instructed not to eat the fruit. And then it says, and Yahuwah said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. So, in both instances, it seems like Adam and Eve are placing the blame on whoever, told them to do this, who told them to eat the fruit, or basically persuaded them to eat the fruit. So Adam's saying, well, the woman you gave to me, she gave me this fruit and I ate it. Now Eve is like, well, the serpent beguiled me, so I ate it. But keep in mind, or I would like you to keep in mind, they did not have to eat the fruit at all. None of them did. And I read in another book in the Bible that the blame was actually put on Adam, or that it was Adam's fault. And I have to read a little more about that, why it says it was Adam's fault about this. But I remember reading about it. But both of them, anyway, didn't have to eat from the fruit. They really didn't. and they both chose to. So it says, and Yahuwah said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity, which is hate, between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, which is basically their children. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. So I looked up what that phrase meant, and at first I had a better understanding of that phrase, but I definitely need more understanding of that phrase. I just know there will be hate between the woman and between the serpent. And it says, between thy seed and her seed, it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it, cursed is the ground for thy sake. In sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. So, our Heavenly Father, Yahuwah, is saying, okay, Eve, you did this, so I'm going to multiply your conception. So when she conceives kids, it'll be in sorrow. And I know many people equate the sorrow to pain, like the pain women experience in childbirth. So it could be literal pain. You know, it could be, okay, you're going to be in pain during childbirth. And, or it could also be that, or it could also be something else, and or something else along with this, another type of sorrow. So I want to look more deeply into that. And Adam, he was also saying, because he listened to his wife and ate from that tree, it says, which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it, cursed is the ground for thy sake. So he cursed the ground, and it says, in sorrow thou shalt eat of it all the days of thy life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground. For out of it was thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. So in other words, not only is the ground cursed, not only will it produce like how it was, or not only will it stop producing as it did, he will have to work really, really hard. And also, he not only experienced a spiritual death, he will experience a physical one. So where he was not going to physically die, his body now will physically die. So now he will turn back into the dust that he was created from. And Adam called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living. Unto Adam also and to his wife did Yahuwah make coats of skins and clothe them. So Yahuwah made both of them coats of skins and clothed them. And Yahuwah said, behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat, and live forever. Therefore, Yahuwah sent him forth from the garden of, I say Eden, but I know people pronounce it Eden, so I'll say Eden. from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from whence he was taken. So I'll read this. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims and a flaming sword, which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. So I'm going to go back. So one of my questions that I do have is, who is us? That's one of my questions that I've been having for that I've had for a long time. Like, when the Father's talking about us, I wonder who the us is. Like, that's been a question for, like, I don't know who the us is, and I would really love to find out who the us is. I've heard different interpretations of who us could be, like if it were Yahuwah, aka God, and Jesus, who I say Yahusha, or if it is I've heard it could be God and humans, or anything else. Some people may even believe it could be God and an angel, or God and angels. But my thing is, I don't know who the us is, but the most the one I've heard the most was that it's Yahuwah and Yahusha. So that's something that I would love to find out. And if any of you want to find out too, and it's a question that you've had, or it's a question that you now have, I'd love to know. I'd love to know if you also have that question. Also, the other thing is, Yahuwah sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to the ground, so from whence he was taken. And it also says something up here where it says that because he knows good and evil, Yahuwah was thinking about, what if he takes his hand from the tree of life and live forever? So based on what I'm reading, it seems like if Adam were to take from the tree of life, he would then live forever. But not only will Adam live forever, he would live in his fallen state, which means he would know good and evil, but he will basically be battling with sin because he would live forever. And that's something that really stuck out to me. And he placed cherubims, which, if I'm right, cherubims are a type of angel, or types of angels, and basically to guard the way. So to guard the way, to keep the way of the tree of life. And that's very important as well. And also, that is all for Genesis chapter 3. And I'm looking forward to reading Genesis chapter 4. I will end this video.